Now comes the blueprint for the flood protection of company premises.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Hello listeners, I'm Andreas Klippe again, and today we are celebrating the end of the journey of Michael Thompson, and he went through the complex world of flood protection. His boss asked him to find a solution to protect the company, which employs 350 people on a 46,000 hectare site in the south of the mega city of Metro Manila in the Philippines. They work for an US industrial group and manufacture electronic parts for the automotive industry. And the challenge was the flooding, the monsoon rain, the rainy season, 25 typhoons hitting the country every year. And the company is exposed to a very high risk of being flooded. And that would mean they stop production, they can no longer sell to their customers, they can no longer do business. How long would that take? Too long. Because it would take at least 9 months to clean up the mess, renovate and replace everything, if at all. The delivery time for high-end production machines is sometimes 14 months and longer, more than 1 year. The company's insurance company made the difference. It pointed the finger at the danger. Now the company management has to take action. If they don't, they won't get another insurance policy. What would that mean? They could cease operations without the risk being covered. There was no other way to find a solution to protect the company premises from the risk of flooding and destruction. And let's recap Michael Thompson's journey along the way. So at the beginning, Michael's challenge begins with an urgent assignment to develop a flood protection plan for a vast area in the rainy regions of Manila. With heavy rainfall, a constant threat, a solid effective solution is urgently needed. And as I've said, the insurance company is pushing hard. But it's not just about the insurance company, it's about the safety of their own company, about ensuring that operations can continue, that the jobs of all employees, including the management, are safe. And Michael started with a hydrological study, and that is not just a preparatory step, but the cornerstone of flood protection planning. It involves analyzing precipitation patterns, water flow topography, and more. And in a hydrological study, several critical aspects were analyzed: the water cycle analysis, the terrain and topography examination, the rainfall and runoff data, water balance equation, flood frequency analysis, hydrological modeling. However, that is sometimes, especially when it comes to weather data, that is data from the past. And this data from 20 years before does not help you at all, because in the meantime, the climate change has changed the weather results. We see more frequent rainfalls and heavy rainfall compared to before. And more urban planning has, sometimes without planning, has been done. That means the surfaces are sealed with concrete, and it highly depends on what happens in the neighborhood, and that will have a result on the flooding or the waterway, the rainfall, not the rainfall, how the water will flow and reach your compound and your premises. So once the hydrological data is available, the next critical phase is the engineering assessment. And what exactly is the engineering assessment for flood protection? The engineering assessment for production facility is a valuable addition to an overall plan for a flood protection project for the site, whether it is for commercial purposes, government or public facilities, or private property. And it describes the necessary steps and optimal investments to protect your facility from heavy rain and flooding in your area. The engineering service checks all details such as dimensions, materials of the wall structures, ground foundation structures to be protected, and all possible data required to the smooth installation of flood protection technology. The aim of the engineering assessment is to find a solution that minimizes your investment while maximizing protection and safety in every respect. And at this stage, it is not yet possible to offer a precise and specific flood protection solution and budget, as factors such as the feasibility of the construction works and additional engineering and the type of flood protection system suitable for the site are still missing. And these missing factors lead to the following questions. Question number 1, how much and to what extent can and should your landscape buildings, power lines, pipelines, sidewalks and facades be changed? Question number 2, which is the right flood protection technology out of the top 14 flood barrier systems in the world that best suits your requirements? And question number 3, how much will everything cost? Not only the flood barriers, but also the ensuing civil works and other accessories like additional and modified drainages and pumps. And if you find the right flood experts, they will work with your team to consider your objections and requirements, reflect on these issues and present the answers. And this leads to the following 3 results. Result number 1, all construction work required to solve the flood-related problems of your location will be identified. Result number 2, overall investment plan with maximum 3 optional recommendations of the most effective flood protection is proposed. And result number 3, necessary budget details are listed so that the construction planning department receives reliable investment figures. And these results will enable you to reduce your investment costs and avoid wrong decisions. Michael Journey then moved on to the detailed design, where theory meets practice. And this phase, specific solutions are designed based on the hydrological study and technical and engineering assessment, and ensuring that each flood protection measure is precisely calibrated for optimal effectiveness. In our case, the managing director and his team opted for option number 2 of the 3 possible flood protection scenarios proposed. This included manual flood barriers on the street side and an automatic one at the rear entrance to the production building with all the expensive machinery. And the detailed engineering gave them the specific dimensions, weights, volumes, and the detailed plan for the construction work. Fortunately, the previous technical engineering assessment had already informed them of the estimated costs of this at this stage. So they were able to anticipate the next steps and requested the budget for this year. The result for the company is clear. All the steps, all the construction work, all the parts that needs to be procured are now described. And the managing director knows exactly what the prices are. There should be no more surprises later on. And after thorough planning and design, the focus is on the procurement and installation of the flood protection system. Now, finally, this phase is all about bringing the plans to life and ensuring that all components work seamlessly together to form a cohesive, effective barrier against potential flooding. And once again, a flood protection system is not just barriers. It consists of flood protection barriers as the main component, but also includes additional measures such as drainage, storage systems, pumps, public water connections, shut-off devices, drain plugs, civil works, and the like. And when purchasing, you can only buy what has been planned beforehand. It is not possible to buy a private house without an architectural plan and a detailed list of things that are needed. Never heard about it, such as foundation, doors, windows, roof, water pipe, sewage system or heating, and interior furnishings. And the most important thing, all the things that are needed must fit together and follow the plan. So, wait now, it is essential that all described works are completed as described. It is essential that the company who made the engineering for flood protection has an eye on the execution to avoid hidden revisions, last-minute changes, or hanky-panky activities that might influence the performance of the flood protection system. So, let me conclude. Michael's approach, starting with part 1, a hydrological study, illustrates the importance of a sound scientific basis for flood protection. But don't rely only on the past data, weather data. Just again, I remind you the impact of climate change. And you are now going to implement a flood protection solution that should at least last, I think, for 50 years, not only for 20 years. So make it as best as you can. And part 2 was the engineering assessment of flood protection, which provided Michael with 3 options for possible flood protection scenarios, with the expected construction work and costs for appropriate financial planning. And part 3 was the detailed planning, the detailed engineering. It was carried out for the preferred flood protection scenario from the 3 options. In this case, it was option 2, with a combination of demountable flood barriers and an automatic flood barrier. And now all the details have been described so that all the dimensions, weights, volumes, product types, and specifications are on paper. This brings us to part 4. Based on the result of the detailed planning, the company's purchasing department can procure the required parts and construction services. It is proof of the philosophy that effective planning leads to effective flood protection. But wait, it is really important. It is really important that all the work described is carried out exactly as described. It is important that the company that designed the flood protection system monitors the execution to avoid hidden revisions and last-minute changes, hanky-panky things that could negatively impact the performance of the flood protection system. Yeah, Michael did his job, and the general manager is very satisfied. So I think he got a bonus for his good performance, and the company now is purchasing the flood barriers, and then they will be installed and can be monitored, or shall be monitored by the flood experts to make sure that the design, everybody followed the design, and not that the contractor company is just changing it to minimize the expenses. And my golden nugget at the end of every episode: remember that the first step to protecting your premises is not to buy barriers, but to understand your individual flood risks through an engineering assessment, including a hydrological study, followed by detailed planning. This is a blueprint for your flood protection strategy. And if Michael's story has inspired you to rethink your approach to flood protection, stay tuned for more episodes like this, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights from the world of flood protection. Subscribe to Flood Protection Secrets if you haven't done it yet, and for personal guidance, reach out to us or to me, to Andreas Klippe. And as always, stay safe and flood free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the flood experts. What can Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering. German quality. Safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.